On a warm summer night in 2016, a shy 12-year-old girl stepped onto the stage of America's Got Talent holding a ukulele. Her name, Grace VanderWaal. Within moments, the entire nation was captivated by her haunting original song, I Don't Know My Name. Judge Howie Mandel hit the golden buzzer, catapulting Grace to instant fame. But what followed was not just a fairy tale of stardom, it was a journey marked by profound challenges, public pressure, private struggles, and heartbreaking revelations. This video will uncover the breathtaking rise and silent battles of Grace VanderWaal. We'll explore her childhood innocence, her transformation through fame, and the identity struggles that followed. We'll delve into exclusive behind-the-scenes accounts from America's Got Talent, analyze her music evolution song by song, and reveal the emotional truth behind her lyrics. Interviews, fan testimonies, and industry insider commentary, we will reveal a portrait of a young girl thrust into stardom and the tragic cost of brilliance. From her tender ukulele notes to her shocking metamorphosis and spiritual journey, Grace's story is one of survival, loss, healing, and rediscovery. Grace Avery VanderWaal was born on January 15, 2004, in Lenexa, Kansas. Her family relocated to Suffern, New York, where she grew up with her older siblings, Jacob and Olivia. Her parents, Tina and Dave VanderWaal, recognized Grace's talent early on. She began writing songs at just 3 years old and showed a natural ability to express deep emotion through music. After watching videos online, Grace taught herself how to play the ukulele at age 11. Her bedroom became her first studio, where she recorded songs and experimented with lyrics, reflecting the curiosity and sensitivity that would define her future work. Despite her gifts, Grace was a reserved child. She felt like an outsider at school and often kept to herself. Music became an emotional sanctuary, a way to process feelings she struggled to express elsewhere. Her childhood was a blend of love and quiet solitude, a necessary foundation for the creative force she was becoming. When Grace auditioned for season 11 of America's Got Talent in 2016, she had never performed in front of such a large audience. Singing her original composition, I Don't Know My Name, she mesmerized the judges and audience. Her lyrics conveyed themes of identity and individuality, touching on feelings of being lost in the crowd, an emotion shared by many but expressed so powerfully by someone so young. The video of her audition went viral almost immediately, amassing millions of views on YouTube within days. Howie Mandel's golden buzzer moment became one of the most iconic in the show's history. By the time Grace reached the finals and won the season, she had already become a global sensation. But success at such a young age brought more than just admiration. It brought pressure, obligations, and public scrutiny. In a matter of weeks, her life was completely transformed. Winning America's Got Talent came with a $1 million prize and a headlining show in Las Vegas. She signed a contract with Columbia Records and released her debut EP Perfectly Imperfect in December 2016. The EP received strong reviews and debuted at number 9 on the Billboard 200 chart. However, with that success came challenges. Grace was still attending middle school. Her life became a balancing act between homework and recording sessions, between media interviews and navigating adolescence. She had to deal with the expectations of an entire industry while still figuring out who she was as a person. Behind her calm demeanor, Grace experienced bouts of anxiety and self-doubt. Interviews in the years following her win reveal her feelings of being overwhelmed. In one interview, she noted that she never really wanted fame, she just wanted to share her music. In 2017, Grace released her debut full-length album, Just the Beginning. The title suggested the start of a new chapter, and musically, it reflected her growth. Her lyrics delved into themes of insecurity, dreams, and the emotional turbulence of growing up. As she matured, Grace began experimenting with her sound and style. She adopted a more edgy look, moving away from the quirky, innocent image that had initially defined her. She received both praise and criticism for this transformation. Some fans embraced the new Grace, while others expressed concern. This period was one of introspection. Grace began to question what kind of artist she wanted to be. Her songwriting took a more melancholic tone, often dealing with themes of isolation, authenticity, and the need to escape the expectations placed on her. In the years following her AGT victory, Grace faced the challenge of sustaining a career while still coming of age. Public life took a toll on her mental health. She spoke candidly about experiencing panic attacks, anxiety, and the feeling of being constantly judged. Grace's social media presence shifted. She became more withdrawn, using her platform less frequently. At times, she would delete entire Instagram posts, leaving fans wondering if she was okay. She admitted in interviews that she had trouble trusting people and felt the isolation that often accompanies fame. This emotional strain was compounded by personal losses and hardships. Though she kept many details private, there were indications of family struggles and friendship breakdowns. The emotional weight began manifesting in her music and public appearances. Turning 18 was a milestone for Grace. She was no longer a child star but a young adult in control of her destiny. She took time to explore other passions, including acting. In 2020, she starred as Susan Stargirl Caraway in the Disney Plus film Stargirl, based on the best-selling novel. Her performance was praised for its vulnerability and charm. Despite this success, the transition to adulthood was not seamless. Grace felt the lingering effects of childhood fame. In various interviews, she expressed frustration about being misunderstood or reduced to her AGT identity. She worked hard to assert herself as a serious musician and artist. She also began taking more control over her creative direction. Her EP Letters Volume 1, released in 2019, displayed a more mature, pop-infused sound. The lyrics reflected her desire for self-expression and the pain of growing up in the public eye. Behind the spotlight, beneath the polished performances and media smiles, Grace VanderWaal's life has been marked by wounds deeper than the world could see. As her fame grew, so did the silence surrounding her inner pain. A silence that eventually began to shatter in haunting lyrics and cryptic confessions. By 2021, Grace released the single Repeat, a haunting ballad wrapped in melancholic synths and fragmented vocals. To casual listeners, it was just another pop track. But to those who knew her story, it was a veiled cry for help. The lyrics spoke of emotional entrapment, the exhaustion of pretending, and the spiral of repeating traumas. Fans speculated that it referenced more than just a broken relationship. It hinted at a long cycle of emotional exploitation and abandonment. Privately, Grace had endured more than anyone her age should have. Those she once trusted became strangers. There were whispers of a toxic romantic entanglement that left her shattered, a relationship that blurred the lines between affection and manipulation. While she never publicly named the individual, her lyrics spoke volumes, the feeling of being used, gaslit, and discarded. But the pain wasn't just romantic. Grace began to open up, in subtle ways, about the emotional toll fame took on her family. The unity the world saw was beginning to fracture behind the scenes. In several interviews, she hinted at rifts, at feeling invisible in her own home, despite her global recognition. The once tight familial ties that carried her through childhood began unraveling under the strain of her career. At the heart of it all was a brutal truth: Grace never got to be a child. Her innocence was replaced with studio sessions, rehearsals, media training, and corporate expectations. She became a commodity in the eyes of an industry that applauded her talent but ignored her soul. The pressure to maintain an image, the quirky prodigy, the marketable idol, crushed her spirit, day by day. She spiraled into a deep depression. The world saw curated photos and brief glimpses of performances. But in the silence of her room, she wrestled with thoughts of worthlessness, isolation, and a chilling question: was any of this worth it? In an emotional interview years later, Grace admitted to losing herself entirely. "I couldn't recognize the girl in the mirror," she whispered. "She looked like me. She sounded like me. But she wasn't me." One of the most heartbreaking moments came when she admitted to crying herself to sleep during her most successful year. "The loneliest I've ever felt was when the world loved me the most," she confessed. The more praise she received, the more hollow it rang. Because inside, she felt broken, discarded by those who should have protected her, left to navigate a ruthless world with nothing but her songs and sorrow. Even friendships couldn't withstand the weight of her reality. Betrayals came from unexpected places. Childhood friends distanced themselves, unable to relate to her new life. New people entered her circle, many of them drawn more to her fame than her heart. She longed for someone who saw Grace, not the brand. And yet, in the midst of this emotional wreckage, she began to write, not for a label, not for fans, but for herself. These unreleased songs, she later said, were the diary pages no one was supposed to read. They held truths too raw for the world, including her darkest moments, her cries for help, and the tragedies that marked her journey. Perhaps the most heartbreaking revelation came in a quietly released podcast appearance in 2023, where she alluded to experiencing a traumatic event she had never previously discussed. While she didn't go into detail, she broke down mid-conversation, saying only, "It changed me. I don't think I ever came back from that." The internet buzzed with speculation, but out of respect, many fans chose not to pry. Grace had become a master at masking pain with poetry, and it was in those quiet verses and fading melodies that her true story lived. Not in headlines or chart rankings, but in the broken notes between the lines. This chapter of her life wasn't just about loss. It was about revelation. About facing the dark corners of her past with trembling courage. And though her voice shook, she refused to be silenced. She would carry the weight of her tragedies not as shame, but as proof of survival. In late 2020, Grace surprised fans by shaving her head. She posted a photo on Instagram with the caption, "I'm done." The move was met with a mix of admiration and concern. While many saw it as a bold act of self-expression, others worried about her emotional well-being. Grace later explained that the transformation was symbolic. It represented shedding the layers of expectation and reclaiming control over her identity. She had grown tired of trying to meet others' expectations. The act was cathartic, a personal rebellion against the persona she had outgrown. After years of chaos, Grace began focusing more on inner healing. She sought therapy, began journaling, and explored spirituality. She distanced herself from toxic influences and found comfort in solitude and creativity. She spent time reconnecting with nature and with herself. In one interview, she described walking barefoot in the woods, meditating, and reflecting on her childhood. She also found solace in songwriting once more, not for an audience, but for herself. Grace's relationship with her fans evolved. Instead of curated posts, she began sharing honest, raw content. She talked about her struggles, vulnerabilities, and healing journey, breaking the stigma around mental health for young artists. Grace VanderWaal's story is still being written. As of 2025, she continues to release music independently. Her work is less frequent but deeply personal. She has taken a step back from mainstream fame, choosing authenticity over popularity. Her influence, however, is undeniable. She paved the way for young singer-songwriters to embrace vulnerability and creativity. She is cited as an inspiration by many upcoming artists. Grace has grown from a precocious child star into a multifaceted, introspective young woman. She carries the scars of fame, but also the wisdom it has brought. She has become an advocate for mental health, authenticity, and artistic freedom. Grace VanderWaal's journey is not one of simple fame or fleeting glory. It's the ongoing story of a young woman who dared to be vulnerable, who broke the silence with melody, and who continues to rise, fractured but unbroken. Her voice may have trembled through the pain, but it never vanished. If her story moved you, if you saw a piece of yourself in her lyrics, if you believe in the power of truth, resilience, and transformation, then don't let her journey fade into the noise. Like this video to support stories that matter. And subscribe to follow more real-life journeys of artists, survivors, and icons. Comment below with your thoughts or your personal connection to Grace's music. Your voice matters too.